Today, I want to address what I think is one of the biggest problems in the gambling addiction space. And, when I think about this problem, it's absolutely one that I struggled with for a really, really long time. Candidly, it's still something that I struggle with to this day. Now, 640 days since I've made my last bet. What it is essentially that I felt really comfortable doing one form of gambling and viewed a different form of gambling as my problem. As mentioned, my name's Rob and I made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. I want you to smash that subscribe button if you or someone you know is dealing with a gambling problem because my aim is to share my experience in gambling addiction so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. I had this notion in my head that sports betting was investing and that I was addicted to casino games and gambling in my head, right? Now, in reality, it's all gambling. But what I would continuously tell myself, and let me know in the comments if you've ever told yourself this, is that I can sports bet normally. That's my investment money. And my gambling or my fun money is going into the casino games. Realistically, what I was doing was drawing a line between different forms of gambling, calling some of them gambling and some of them investing or a different category, right? And that actually applied for me with the stock market too as I was buying short dated options, cryptocurrency on leverage, doing really risky trades that were basically just gambling, but telling myself, no, 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 I can handle myself over here. My problem's over on the casino games. So by the time that I stopped gambling, I had the ability to just listen to the sound of the slot machine spinning in my pocket in my headphones and know based on the sound how much money that I had won or I had lost. And that is what I considered to be a gambling addiction, not the fact that I was sports betting compulsively for 8 hours a day in addition to that. So a lot of people will come to me and they'll say something like, "Hey, Rob, I'm really, really addicted to roulette, but I don't feel the same way about my sports betting. It feels like when I play roulette, I can't stop myself, but I have control over my sports betting." And I felt that way for a while too. But you're really going to fall into one of two categories. The first being that you're just actually lying to yourself. You might be saying, I can control this because you want to control it. You want to gamble like a normal person. You want to be able to continue doing something because maybe that's the category of things. For me, it was absolutely the thing that I loved to do the most, which was sports bet. And I viewed it differently just so I could justify continuing doing it. Now, the second category is that you just haven't done enough of it yet. You haven't experienced enough pain for you to recognize that it's also a problem. My sponsor at my meetings describes gambling and not gambling in a really interesting way. He said that as a problem gambler, right, the pain that you get from not gambling is higher than the pain that you get from gambling. But as you continue to do it, it slowly shifts to the point where the gambling is bringing enough pain into your life that you're ready to leave it behind. And it's exactly like that when it comes to differentiating between different types of bets. You might not have experienced enough pain yet in the sports betting category to recognize that it's falling under the same category of gambling because maybe you've had more pain on the roulette wheel. Now, people are going to probably poke and argue and say, hey, these could be different forms of gambling. These could be different feelings in the brain. But the truth is that it's all one mechanism. Our brain doesn't compartmentalize sports betting versus poker versus roulette. Our brain only functions based on risk and reward. When we go to place a bet, our brain, as a problem gambler, releases dopamine. That's that feel good chemical, the pleasure that you get, the excitement, the thrill. It's what keeps you coming back to continue doing the action. And in the brain of a problem gambler, we develop a dependency on that hit of pleasure from gambling where we don't want to get it from anywhere else. There's other dopamine sources like going for a picnic with your friends. For some people, it's gardening, right? But as a problem gambler, we want to get that insane thrill that we're used to from anticipating a risky bet. And our brain doesn't think beyond that. So if you're convincing yourself that you feel a different way when you're spinning a roulette wheel than you feel when you're finding out the result of a sports game that you bet on, you really don't. You might be telling yourself that to justify the action, but at the end of the day, it's the exact same process of risk money to try to win more money in your brain. Maybe it feels a little different because it's playing out faster on a slot machine or a roulette wheel, but it's the same process and we can't escape it. So, to anyone that's asking, can I do one form of gambling while giving up the others? I don't really think so. I think it's only a matter of time until that second thing that you think isn't a problem becomes a problem. And that amount of pain that you're getting from gambling is going to outweigh the pain that you get from not gambling. And if you've reached the point in your recovery, or if you've reached the point in your life that you're saying, hey, maybe this guy isn't full of shit, maybe I do have an issue and I want to get help, then here's the four things that I did to get myself clean from gambling and to stay clean from gambling. The first thing I had to do was absolutely find things to do with my time. If I was expecting to gamble for 6 to 8 hours a day, I needed to fill that time because when we're bored, we usually just default back to the same thinking patterns that we used to have. I even saw a study that said that basically human beings were put into a lab and they were asked, would you rather shock yourself with an electric shock or sit alone with your thoughts for 15 minutes? It only took a few minutes before most people were willing to shock themselves. So we absolutely hate boredom as human beings, and as problem gamblers, it's even worse. So we have to keep ourselves busy and start pursuing things that mean something. Second, we need to limit our access to money. We're going to have temptations to gamble, but if we don't have access to our own money to light our life on fire, we really can't do that much damage. So in the beginning, I gave control of my bank account to my family, and I only carried cash. It sucked, but it got the job done because most of my gambling was done online. Then the third thing that you need to do is self exclude from the casinos. Make it as difficult as possible to access gambling so that when those urges come around, you can't act on them right away when you feel it. Giving yourself time to think about the decision you're about to make is what recovery is all about. And lastly, go to support group meetings. If you need an online support group that's 100% free, check the link in the description. It's for gamblersinrecovery.com. And I don't want you to take this video as something that'll leave a negative taste in your mouth, right? Maybe you're someone that's been watching the content and you've been able to give up the roulette wheel, but you're still sports betting. Any tangible move towards a better life is better than doing nothing at all. But just recognize that no matter what form of gambling you are attempting to do, if you're struggling with a gambling addiction or a gambling problem of any nature, it's only going to be a matter of time until you start to experience those same symptoms in that other portion of your life. I still struggle with that to this day with the stock market because for a really long time I convinced myself it wasn't gambling, when in reality, I was gambling way more there than I was in the sports books. So I gave you a little taste of what I've done to keep myself away from gambling. But if you want a deeper dive explaining those four things, then check out this video I made on how I've gotten myself 640 days clean from my gambling addiction. And until we figure it all out, let's just focus on getting better together, one day at a time.